Hi everyone, so today I'm going to make one of these, and you can make them in a few different styles. It's a butterfly flip in this case with a spinner, and I've put 4 different images on this card, and I've made it a flip, so I've left one of the flaps out so that it can sit on top of a journal page and then flip up, and then you've got the image up the right way on the back with a nice vellum pocket. So that's the flip style. Here's another one I've made. Again, this one's got the 4 different images, and this one is something that you can tuck into a pocket, and you can add something to the back. You can journal on it or pop a photo or decorate it any way you like. That's that style. And here's another one that I've made, and I've left it open so that you can see. This one's got 7 butterfly images, and I've just done them a slightly different size to these 2. So these both have the same size, which is a 1.5 inch butterfly. And then with this one I've used the smaller circle punch, so it's about 1 3/8. So let me just measure that again. So that's more, yeah, that's 1.5. So just made that bigger difference to get more on it. And you can see from this one how it comes together. So you cut the circle out and hinge it with a split pin, and you can see here that I've left, this would be the flip part, so that it can be a page flip. If you don't want it to be a page flip, you just trim this extra piece off and seal it up like that. And in this case I've just decorated the front with a specimen slide. You can tuck a few pieces under there, and then the back, again, I've got the vellum pocket on the side, and you can tuck some items into that one as well. So let me show you what I've got. I've got a piece of 200-gram GSM cardstock. This will be the circle spinner, the circle shape, and I've printed a few pages from the butterfly collection. So this one is on 160 GSM, and in this case, so I'm not going to make this one a flip. Let me just show you. If I open this one up and I make this side the front, this butterfly needs to be upside down. You can easily just reverse flip that when you print it, but if you wanted it to be a page flip, then you need to find one of the pages that has plain, something fairly plain on the right hand side when the page is upside down, so that when it flips up, so that's the front, the plain part, and when it flips up, the butterfly is the correct way up. So for this one I'm just going to make it so that the butterfly is going to be on the back, and it's going to be more this sort of style where you just tuck it into a pocket. So that's what we're making today. So I've got that page, I've printed out some of the butterfly circles, and I've reduced both of these to 85% using the scale on my printer. I don't want them full size because I want this to be something that will tuck into a pocket. It needs to be smaller than the standard A4 page. So I've got that page to be the cover. That's going to be the butterflies that go onto the circle. These are going to be the cards, and you can see I've got a couple of those tucked into the back of that pocket, so I can use those to decorate. And I've got a couple of these in a few different sizes, and you can see there I've just cut one out and put some ribbon behind it to decorate that, so I might use those. And some labels, I've already cut one out there. So that's what I've got. Let's start. So with this piece I'm just going to trim the white off both of the side pieces. This, when you put these together, you can see with this one, this is the sturdy part. So there's no stress put on these edges, so you don't need to reinforce them. And the other thing is you need to be able to use a circle punch to punch through it, and if you double that over by folding this paper over, the punches will have a really hard time going through that. So I'm just going to get rid of the white. And then I'm going to just find a spot on the board and score along where the colour meets the white, so that I'm going to be able to have a neat fold on that. Do that on both sides. Okay, so we're going to fold this in half. I'm just going to snip off on an angle, just snip off top and bottom there, and then I will only need, because I'm making this a pocket, I'm going to fold this flap in and this flap in, and so I don't need these two flaps. If I was going to make it a flip up, I would leave one of these flaps on, but in this case I don't need it, so I'm just going to trim those off. So that's ready to go. The next thing you need to do is punch a circle in it. Now I've got these two different punches, so I've got this one, and this is an older one that I've got, and you can see here this one's just about 1.5, and then this is the smaller circle. So it's this one that I use to get the smaller circle. It doesn't make a lot of difference to the size, but it means that I can fit more on. So I'm going to use that one to punch my holes. And so you can see on this one, the hole is slightly above the center. So this one finishes at 7.25, and the circle starts about 2.5 inches down. So I'm going to do the same with this one. So I'm just going to grab a pencil and just mark about there is where my circle's going to start. Now, I find this tricky to use, but with that marking in place. So I'm pushing the paper as far in as I possibly can, and then I just kind of engage it by pushing underneath and then push that down. So that's my circle there. Now with these ones, I've only done the circle on the front, you can see, but it might be fun to try punching a circle on the back. I would lose a little bit of the butterfly wing, but that would mean that you could put images on both sides of the card, this spinner. So that might be a bit of fun. So let me see if I can line that up. And punch another circle through the back. Hang on, I just moved everything. Okay. So the next thing we need is our circle. Now you can see from these ones especially this one that I left it open. The circle needs to fit inside the card, and I've just left probably about 1/8 of an inch so that it's not rubbing on that seam there. And then the circle needs to be bigger, obviously, so it will stick out so that you've got room to spin it. In this case it's just on 1/4 of an inch, and on this one it's 1/2 an inch. So the circle doesn't have to be an exact size. I'm just going to sit my card down and measure, leaving about 1/8 of an inch here. So if I had this at about 5.5 inches, that would be the full width of my page. So I'm going to make it between 5.25 and 5 3/8. I'm going to use, I've got a circle cutter, so I'm going to use this. If you don't have a circle cutter, you could simply just trace around a plate or something that you've got circular in your craft room. Just moved that slightly. That's okay, it doesn't have to be exactly perfect. I'll just trim that up a little. So then there's my circle, and it's going to sit inside the card there, leaving about 1/8 of an inch and leaving that much to spin. Now I want to find the middle of my circle, and I found the easiest way to do that is to just make another circle. Just finding a bit of scrap paper. Just quickly cut another circle. So if you're using a plate or something in your craft room, just make a second one, and then if you fold that in half and half again, you'll get the exact center. You're also going to need just a small piece of scrap paper, cardstock preferably. This won't be seen, so I'm just going to cut a small square of that. Now with my pokey tool, I'm just going to line that up and poke a hole through the middle. And I also need a hole through that piece of card. Alright. And you're going to push this through the centre of your circle and your card, and then open up the legs there, and then that's nicely centered. This is going to be positioned inside your card. So I'm just going to make sure, because I'm doing it double-sided, I'm just going to trim this piece down. So that when that's spinning, you're not going to see that card, because I've done it double-sided. I haven't had to think about that before. Okay. This is going to have glue just put around the outside. You need to make sure that you don't glue onto the legs of the brad, otherwise it won't spin. So I'm going to put glue around the outside of this. And then I want to position this quite close to that fold and just stick that square down, just double checking again that I'm just going to spin that to make sure. Lovely. So the next step is to cut out your butterflies and glue them into position, and they need to be the same size as the circle that you've cut there. Okay, I've got my butterflies cut out. Just going to find some tweezers that will help me with this and my glue. And what you need to do now is just start positioning with your first piece, and you want it to be sitting so that it's exactly in that opening. So just make sure you've got your card up the right way, which I have. So I'm just going to take my butterfly. This was a misprint. The printer grabbed the first piece of paper and then half of the next piece, so I just flipped it over. You want to get the glue right to the edge so that this doesn't catch when it's spinning. And then these tweezers, I just open them and grab it and then slip it underneath, and you want it to sit exactly inside the circle. You only get a second before that glue grabs. Once you've got that into position, before you glue the next ones on, I just like to see how many will fit. So I'm just going to spin that till that's just out of view and sit another one in, and just again just follow that, just to give you a rough idea of how many you're going to fit around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to get 6 on this one, so I can just to give myself a rough idea of just sort of spreading them evenly. That one's fixed. So now that I've got them just sitting there, I'm just eyeballing it just to see that I've just got that little bit of space, and that will just help me to position things nicely. So go around and glue all of your butterflies down. Okay, so lovely. And I'm going to repeat that process on the back. Okay, so now I'm ready to just, so I've got the butterflies on both sides of my spinner, and I'm ready just to glue these pieces in. Just the one thing to be wary of is this tab covers that spinner, so I want to make sure when I put the glue in that I don't get glue too near to that edge here, and that I have that sitting nicely when I glue that in. And everything's sliding beautifully. So that's it finished. We've got the butterflies showing on both sides, and now it's ready to decorate. So I'll just bring back these other ones just to show you. So on this one I had the little specimen card. I also punched this little burgundy ring out of some spare cardstock just to sort of make a bit of a contrast, so I could do that there if I wanted. This one I've got some ribbon on the back of one of these Snowdome butterflies, and a little bit of the what is this stuff called? The muslin behind it, and so that looked really nice. And with this one I just used one of the little labels, one of these, and I embossed some some wording on the front of it. So that's how I did these other ones. With this one, I think one of these might make a nice pocket, and because I've got the dark blue here, I think that one might make a nice pocket, so I'm going to cut that out, cutting the white around it so that I can fold those pieces in and make that a pocket, which I like. So I'm just going to score on the white line just so that that can glue under and be my pocket. That way I get to keep the full width of this pocket. Just going to trim that corner piece off and angle that piece off. And then I should be able to fold that in. Now I might use the corner rounder and then a little bit of distressing just to cover that little tiny bit of white. And then before I glue this down, I'm just going to get rid of that little funny corner. So there's my pocket. I can also, if I want, cut a little notch just by centering that space. Okay, so there's my pocket. I'm just going to glue that down. Right, so I can fit something about 3 inches in there. So I'm just going to fussy cut that out. So I've just cut a tag to fit inside that pocket, and I've fussy cut one of these snow domes, and I'm thinking that that might be really nice with some gold embossing on it, or I might just use this product just to be quick. So this is Inca Gold, and I just think it needs something to give it a bit of a lift. What I could do is do some gold embossing with a stamp behind that. And I'll just use this text stamp. I think a gold eyelet. And there you have it. I could always add some paper onto the back of this. There we go. So of course you could decorate that more,